excited to about our next guest because he was actually featured on a recent news article about a project that he undertook for his district in California. He put together one of these big mass band productions while schools were shut down. And I just wanted to pick his brain, just kind of see uh, the feasibility on a general level, and for those band directors that have the technology, kind of the nuts and bolts that kind of goes into developing something like this for your district or for your band. So without any further ado, Matt Ingelson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so tell us where you teach and what your role is at the high school that you're at.
Yeah, so I'm the band director at Desert Hot Springs High School, and during the normal school year, it's a typical high school band program. We have a percussion ensemble, a concert band, a wind ensemble, a jazz band, marching band, winter guard. You know, all of the above. Um, we're out in the Coachella Valley, which is pretty famous for being where Coachella is hosted every year. The school that I'm at in particular, Desert Hot Springs High School, is one of the lower income schools, is actually the lowest income school in Palm Springs Unified School District. And then one of three, very, very low income schools in the Coachella Valley. Um, and yeah, when all of this happened, we were just trying to figure out ways to keep band going. You know, we went into quarantine the week of our festival,
Nice.
and so we never got to go to Wind Ensemble Festival. And currently we're supposed to be performing at like Walt Disney Concert Hall in July, and chances are that's not going to happen. So
Yeah.
especially for my seniors and stuff, we just wanted to find ways to keep things going and give them a memorable end to the year as best as we can. Put a
And this is kind of cool because it is definitely memorable, because I'm going to share my screen just so that everybody can see what I'm referring to. But, this project actually got you guys featured on the area NBC channel, NBC Palm Springs. You got a nice little shout out. Local band directors create Coachella Valley's first virtual concert band, and even named you personally. That's how I kind of came across who you were and all that. But this is kind of exciting and everything, and it's nice because it gives a little bit more recognition to what all the band directors are doing across the country. We've seen a similar thing come out of Georgia. I saw something get posted on a news broadcast down there. So, and these types of things really get highlighted in the news, but I think in a lot of ways it just really shows the resourcefulness of the band director community. And we're trying all different things that we wouldn't normally do in a regular school year. So now, do you happen to have, and I'm putting you on the spot, I guess, but rather than playing that, do you have just kind of a sample of what that was, that first initial project, so that we
yeah
can kind of share and show everybody?
Here, let me just pull it up on YouTube, and then we can screen share it here. Well, that first video that was featured in that production, it was Second Suite in F. We started with a march, thinking that tempos would be a little bit easier to coordinate, and this is what it ended up looking like.
So this was a big undertaking here for you guys. How many students did you wind up having in the full production of this?
We ended up having well, as far as students, we I don't know the exact number, but we had 83 submissions, and the reason that I say like I'm not quite sure how many students we had, is just because we also had a lot of members of the community that are are just looking for something to do,
Right.
uh, and that's actually been one of the greatest means of support for us, because like kids, they'll share it, but we don't get a lot of what kids are watching now. But the people that are going to like support our programs and kind of keep things afloat while we're figuring out our stuff, um, are people in the community, and there
Yeah.
are a ton of people that just have instruments at home that haven't touched them for years and years. And
Right.
so that was kind of strategic within our plan. I'm collaborating with now 3 other band directors in our district, or actually in our area. We're in 2 districts now, but we want stuff that people have already kind of played, even though it's maybe not the best educationally speaking. Honestly, what is good education right now is just getting kids to play.
Yeah.
um, and so we chose Second Suite the first time, and then we chose Irish Tune from the County Dairy the second time. Again, just thinking like a lot of people have played this. A lot of people know Danny Boy if they didn't play the Granger arrangement, um, and
Yeah, and that's
it's proven
smart too
successful.
because one of the big things we're all wrestling with in this arena is issues with copyright, and both of those tunes are actually in the public domain. You can find the PDF copies of both of those on a couple of different resources around the internet. There's a couple of different sites that have that. IMSLP is one of them, but both of those tunes are in the public domain. They're accessible to everybody to send out and stuff like that. So it's a good resource. And to be honest with you, when it comes to educational, I mean, you're choosing great literature for the kids to read through.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't really beat Holster Granger for
Right.
sure. And it was kind of cool because when we were collaborating on this, some of these pieces, one school had done one year, and we had done it another year, and so like everybody had some familiarity with it. Even if it's your 5th or 6th or 7th time playing Holst, like you always find something
Yeah.
new to work on. And even I think what I'm finding as going along here is the act of recording is so different for our kids than, and even our adults, like the band directors that submit videos. It always comes with like please excuse my clams. It's so different than when we're sitting in a concert where it happens one time and you'll never hear the mistake again. Here everybody's kind of on blast, so even if it's music that the kids have played ad nauseum, the act of them being under the microscope and having to record, and sound good and stuff like that, like it is a little bit different and it's challenging. So going easier on this music is not a terrible strategy for, just for that.
Yeah. That's awesome. And in a lot of ways, it forces the students to, and your adults to kind of develop that the self-evaluation, I guess, of their
Yeah.
playing in doing this process, going through this process, because they're becoming aware of mistakes that we may glaze over in a communal setting.
Yeah. Or that just get covered up by better players.
Right.
And now everybody who's submitting at this point, it's obviously optional, but they don't have those people to rely on. They just have the recording. I think another kind of cool benefit is that we're requiring kids to actively listen a little bit more, and like without even having to say like, hey, sit down and listen to this piece and like listen for all the intricacies and stuff. We're not in their classroom, which is just their bedroom right now or wherever they're practicing, to tell them, how to play with great tone or how to articulate what the nuances here. I mean, we're going to get there eventually, as this develops, but at least within these first 2, it's like, here's a recording. figure it out, you know?
Right.
And I think a lot of music majors, like a lot of band directors and stuff, that's how we went to school. And at least my experience was I spent a lot of time with recordings, and I can imagine that's a lot of other people's cases. But for our students, just the average person in the public school, that's looking for something fun to, get on YouTube about, this is like a totally different thing where they literally have to do what we've been trying to get them to do for a long time, which is just active listening. So
Yeah.
there's weird, that wasn't anyone's intention here. But I think that there is genuine like education that is possible through this format.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of gets into a little bit of the nuts and bolts. So from a structure, if somebody wants to develop this, and now you've got a background in recording and engineering and stuff like that, as well as being a band director. Uh, so what you do may not be practical for the average band director to develop some stuff, but just kind of walk through what the process is in general, and what directors, if they want to undertake this, I know there's directors out there that have the equipment, that have the
Right.
want to develop something next level like this. There's going to be directors that say, nope, not my cup of tea. I don't want to be involved in something like that. And so kind of just go through the process. You mentioned passing out a recording. Is that what you guys used as the baseline to have everybody record their part two?
Yeah, so basically where it all starts is, like we the three directors and I that are collaborating on this. We meet on Mondays, and we kind of talk about what piece we want to study. One guy is in charge of making sure that rights are taken care of. One guy is kind of like the repertoire head, and one guy is the well, and then the other guy is me. And um, so I put like the audio together and stuff like that. The thing the thing about the rights to figure out is obviously what we spoke about earlier. Is it public domain? Are the publishers going to come at you? Because the only place that you are able to publish this is online. And we all know the YouTube videos that get shut down because somebody didn't do their due diligence, and then they put out something. The nice thing is that a lot of publishers right now are being incredibly lenient about this kind of thing, and honestly, I think it's kind of to help the music industry out. If there's a bunch of virtual ensembles that are online playing, a composer's piece of music, then it's actually getting heard. Right now, there ain't no concert hall for any composer's music to be played in, right?
Right.
So I, just from a baseline, reach out to composers, reach out to publishers, and just explain your case. There are people that like really need some money right now, and if you have the means or the budget to buy a piece from them, great. Otherwise, like I'll say that there's plenty of publishers. This week we're doing Cajun folk songs.
Nice.
So we're into to Kelly Land. All of Manhattan Beach's music is totally out there for all band directors to use. There's a couple stringencies with it, which or contingencies that you know come into how you're going to build it. So you need some way to distribute your recording. And for me, I believe the best way that every educator can use, should be able to use, is going to be Google Classroom. The reason for Google Classroom is that on the flip side of things, once you start collecting videos, you're going to need a ton of space.
Okay.
So if you're just working on an individual Dropbox or Google Drive account, you're gonna max that out like halfway through your band, and then you're gonna be frustrated because like instead of jumping into recording immediately and stuff like that, you're gonna have to renegotiate. your cloud storage and all of that, and that's just gonna delay things, which is already like it's a bad thing because all of this stuff takes a ton of time. You want to eliminate the barriers of entry. So if you use Google Classroom, there's no storage limit. You have a clean way to download. You have a clean way to upload. So every file that you create, all your PDFs can go directly into the classroom as an assignment or as an announcement. And then your uploads, you can just create an assignment and your students are able to upload that way. I haven't run into too many file type issues. Most of our students use like pretty common devices. Mind you, some of my students with like cheaper cell phones or something like not an iPhone or something like that, I have run into certain issues. So you want to have like a backup plan. The backup plan for me is using a straight up Dropbox account where I can request files. The thing that I ran into immediately is that there isn't a way for you to just distribute a link to your students from a Dropbox or a Google Drive account that will allow them to just publicly upload, or at least if there is a way, I haven't found it yet. So if you don't have access to Google Classroom, or if you're just doing this in the community, which is kind of what we're doing in CV Virtual Band, I use a Dropbox Pro account that gives me 3 terabytes of storage, which I'm not even like really that close to reaching, with 2 videos already in the bank. So I feel pretty confident about this. And then because I can't give out a link for them to upload, I use Jotform, which allows me to create a form. And then within one of the questions where they would upload their document, I can add a integration with Dropbox. It sounds complicated, but literally it's a matter of clicking like 2 buttons and signing in.
Okay.
And then it creates a folder in your Dropbox. You can move it later. And then, everything uploads there. So that's kind of the big setup thing. The other thing to consider is that when everybody is recording, it is super, super hard to line up waveforms that are just like an instrument. But
Right.
it's super easy to line up waveforms that are percussive. So if it's like a snare drum hit, if it's a click, in my case, I like to use a clap.
Now,
So yeah, go ahead.
can you share your screen and kind of show what you're talking about with that clap, because that is important for kind of making sure that those audio forms are lined up.
Absolutely. So here we go. We are sharing screens. You're able to see this?
Yeah.
So this is my Pro Tools session for all of Irish Tune. And if just to kind of guide people through this, what you're looking at, these are all the different instruments that people submitted, or like these are all their videos that have been converted to audio files here. This is where we edit and line stuff up. And then towards the bottom here, this is where I combine them all into buses. So you'll notice that this says like flute here, this says clarinet, double reed, saxophones, trumpets. These are like all the different sections. What you'll find when you go to do this is that normally you would tell your band like play piano here, play forte, mezzo forte, but now they're all relative to a microphone. And so
Right.
if you're doing like serious concert music, like we're trying to do here, we have to be responsible for the dynamics.
Yeah.
So not only do you have to get all this out to your kids and stuff like that, but you have to add all of their things in. So this is like a pretty critical step down here, and all of these are like literally volumes that I've automated in. if you're familiar with GarageBand or with Logic, like this is a very, very simple, normal thing that you would do. But it's really, really time consuming because, you know, you have to set all the balance all the time. Like if you think about balance, blend, and tuning in your ensemble, well, now you're responsible for it for every single person.
Yeah.
But before we get there, the very first track here is what I give to all the students, and this goes in my session. So in this case, this is Irish Tune. If you joined us last week, you're already familiar with the process and nothing has changed. However, this week I'm going to encourage you to spend a couple minutes practicing with the recording. This does have some tempo changes in it, and I try to help. This lets like our kids know that they're listening to 100% the right file, and also I think it just kind of communicates to our kids or community members that this is like a serious thing and that they're you know going to be taken seriously. Also, it gives me an opportunity to give instructions. So the script I follow, this is a recording session for Irish Tune. Please listen to all the instructions before proceeding. And then I tell them that they're going to clap, so put their instrument down. Just kind of makes things a little bit less awkward. That's what you're hearing here. Then we have a little bit of silence so that they can keep running, put their instrument down. At this point right here, what you're seeing is I would say, excellent. Now please clap on the downbeat following 4 clicks. Then I've generated a click track that is in time with the selection. That's these 4 little clicks right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you'll notice right here, I've put a marker in the session that says this is where the clap is.
Okay.
At this point, because I've already finished this, you won't see the clap, but this is one unique point that I look for in every single one of these sessions. And at the very, very beginning of mixing, I'll take all the waveforms and line them up to this clap.
Right.
Kids all have different senses of time, and so it's not foolproof. Yeah, it's not foolproof, and you're not going to find like 100% accuracy all throughout, but at least with that kind of marker, I'm close enough to know that you know, like the kid is using that recording at that specific time and that things are going to continue rolling.
Yeah.
Then I give them like a little bit of space to pick up their instrument. I say, you know, what we're looking at here is, you know, now you'll perform Irish Tune on the county dairy. Here's a 4-count click. Then you hear click, 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 and you're into the whole thing. What I am finding, and I literally just did this before we got on the call, was that we have an amazing amount of really wonderful recordings for wind ensemble, but I don't think that they are tracking them with a metronome in the conductor's headphones. And we teach our kids to, you know, be fluid in tempo. So I can totally see a lot of band directors getting really, really worried about adding a click to the recording session just so that they can get accurate. The reality is you can either have your students play to a click or you can have them play to a recording. From a student's perspective, if I were to just give them a metronome and go, be accountable for your own rests and, you know, like, be accountable for your own tuning, I'm sure that we would get something really, really okay. But I'm going to spend, you know, hours and hours and hours like editing that. And chances are you're going to have a kid that counts like 9 bars of rest instead of 8 bars of rest,
right.
Or, you know, stuff like that. Plus, you know, you're tuning to a click and you're not tuning to anything else. So in this case with Irish Tune on the county dairy, like tuning, we all know is the big kind of issue. So we just sent it with a recording. And the only time I put clicks in was actually at the very end. And you can kind of see that here. Somewhere in the middle of mixing, I just wanted to get rid of the demo, so I deleted it here, but it stays there. Um, this whole demo process where you include the instructions, the clap, the click, is critically important because that's going to be the glue that lines up your video and your audio all together.
Right.
There's been a couple people that have reached out to me that are trying to do this in like iMovie or in Premiere, and to do all the audio in there. And while there is like some processing, like you can add reverb, you can, adjust volume and stuff. The only way that you're going to actually be able to grid up audio very, very accurately is going to be in a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, meaning
Right.
GarageBand, Logic, or Pro Tools.
So
Ableton, some people use Ableton too. Yeah.
so what you do is you get the video that includes the audio from
Yeah.
the performers, and then you strip out the audio so that you just have the audio file, and then you put it into your DAW, and that's where you kind of do the mixing for the overall music uh, to the production that you guys have. And then you go back into your video editor, and I'm assuming you probably mute all those videos and then have just that mastered final product that you edited in the DAW.
Right. So I'm really, really lucky that I have a couple friends who do video professionally. So I'm actually not touching any of the video
Okay.
necessarily. But like I'm familiar enough with these things to to know the process. And so while I do the audio, my buddy gets all the video, which has all the same context. It has the clap, it has everything that I have, just like the audio is like not been scrubbed, and it's not balanced against anything else. So he takes that and he's able to line up everything in time and create just that video, and then he deletes 100% of the audio. And I then take our original demo, going back to the original thing, which he already has a copy of, and is using to grid up all the videos to.
Right.
um, and I overlay the original professional recording with our new one. So I delete it, and you hear my instructions, and then what we've already created. He puts that back in, deletes the intro, conforms it to the video, and then we have our final product.
Awesome.
But
So
all of that is to say that this is, yeah, I mean, like it's there's a lot of production that goes into it. And so definitely don't go about this lightly. And if you do know video guys, I would highly, highly recommend that you reach out to the video guys, because as you can kind of see here, everything that is not vibrant in color, you'll see like some vibrancy. In fact, I rendered every single thing. Every time you do any kind of processing on one track, it takes a little bit of your CPU. I'm working on a Mac Pro, which is like you know objectively the top of the line computer, and your CPU is just not going to handle 50 videos, 80 videos, however
right.
many videos that you need. So if you can find a video guy, everybody's out of work right now, and they will help you out. They're really glad to help you out, and they do generally have equipment that will do all the processing that you need done
Sure.
to make your virtual ensemble.
And that's good. The just from there's a couple of things going on here that I love. First of all, I love how dedicated you are to your program to take the time to do this. Because how for that video of the second suite that you put out, how many hours did you put into that?
So on the mixing end of things, you know, with the amount of education that I have and the training that I have, it takes me about 10 hours to do a mix like that.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
just right off the bat, you've already given 10 hours that you typically wouldn't give in addition to your uh, required work time, dear. But, and I love that. And we're seeing that all across the band director world is that, each band director has these talents that they're giving and they're going above and beyond and using those talents to create something unique for their students, for their community, for their district, for their region, whatever it is. And I love that, this is, sometimes these big projects like this get all the spotlight and everything. But to be honest with you, this is representative of what a lot of band directors are doing all over the place.
Straight up. I mean, yeah, it was super cool we just came back from spring break yesterday. But all the band directors, have been working together for the last, like, couple weeks, like, even though we're doing this. But that's always been the thing about music, is just like, music doesn't really know time. We work, until the job's done.
Right,
And that's what's awesome about, if we weren't doing this right now, what would it be? It would be like winter drumline, it would be a winter guard, it would,
right.
like, we're giving up our time regardless.
Yeah.
So
So the other element that I love about this is that this project opened up new doors within your greater community because mentioned that you are reaching out to your own students, you're getting them involved in this project, but it's also been something that has encouraged uh, involvement from your community. You've had adult members from probably out, once word got out, you probably had them with outside of your district coming and contributing to this project. And I love that aspect because I think in a lot of ways, stuff like this is renewing an interest in the band as a whole, as a general within our population. I love the fact that you reached out to that, but also, you've reached out to other people in the arts community with reaching out to your friends who edit video and stuff like that. And it's kind of cool to see this one project really touch the lives of so many people.
yeah, thank you. Um honestly, just the big thing in my mind is, I work on both sides of, like, on all sides of the music industry, whether it's performing or it's production or it's education. And everybody is impacted by this. And the unfortunate reality is that all of our lives are going to be 100% different when we go back. Even if
Yeah,
school is back in July, or in August, like, marching band is probably not going to be a thing for a lot of us for a little while. And just as one example, like, there's a lot of normal things um, that are just not happening. All my buddies are musicians, are now having to figure out how they can gig and make money from home.
right.
Right now things are okay, to an extent, but over time we're all kind of in the same boat. And I don't know what education is going to look like for us, but I know that there's answers for core curriculum. There's answers for a lot of more traditional disciplines, but nobody, at least in my neck of the woods, has come out with, okay, well, this is what the band directors are doing.
Right.
um, so so now, I mean, like, as teachers, we kind of have not a leg up, but um everybody who went to college knows friends who went and did performance degrees, who are not able to do their work, and they're sitting at home looking for something to do. So reach out to
Yeah.
them, and get them, if you put a virtual ensemble together yourself, like, have them play, because for them it's 15 minutes, but but on the flip side of things, their face gets to be the one that's attached to education, and that helps them. And they're like, everybody's really willing to do it. I mean, we're doing a jazz jam, and there's a couple local musicians who are just amazing. Like, they're playing on some really, really big time albums and records and things like that, that are just going overboard to accommodate, us, and to help the kids out.
Yeah.
Because um whether it's really altruistic, or it's just them trying to keep their career alive, we all benefit.
Yeah.
Same
Most
thing
definitely.
with video editing and audio editing. They're the guys who edit Chicago Symphony's recordings and mix all that stuff. They're offering to put virtual ensembles together for other people. Of course, it comes with a cost,
Yeah.
but if you've got that and you have the resources to do it, everybody, we could really do like the whole music industry, literally 100% of the music industry, like a real service through education right now.
I think so too. And I'm really interested to see how this helps to evolve the profession and the band education moving forward into the 21st century. Because, you know, I think in a lot of ways, some of these experiences with this, the virtual band is going to be contagious to a lot of students. They're going to want to, they're not going to, they're going to crave the social aspect of the band classroom, and they're going to, the live interaction of that experience. But I honestly think that stuff like this, there's going to be a need for it, even when things get back to quote unquote normal. For some of your kids that are really into this stuff are going to uh, want to have that outlet in a virtual setting like this.
Straight up. I mean, and then also, I think that when we are back, like, let's take a look at what we're doing and see if maybe we can get some online resources, really built in. Because this has to have been a wake up call for a lot of band directors
Yeah,
who've been doing, the same thing for the last like 20 years or so. Well, what happens when we can't go to school,
right.
but then at the same time, I have just an infinite amount of empathy for directors are in my boat right now, that are gonna have to work overtime to figure out, the intricacies of getting our equipment back, and maintaining equipment, getting
Yeah,
stuff back from seniors, but also continuing their. So it's all it's all just so tricky right now.
yeah,
But this is just one thing that I think, can kind of keep the music really going for kids, for our communities, for our band directors. One side benefit is that a lot of band directors in our community, who I know haven't played instruments in some cases years, are busting their instruments back out to do these weekly challenges. And so, if nothing else, just reconnecting with your art, that's a really, really great step. There's ways that we can help. If this seems like really daunting to you and you want to get your band involved, they're absolutely welcome to join my band,
okay.
which is cvvirtualconcertband.com. We have a rotation of pieces that we're going to keep going through the end of June, including an original composition that's not this week, but in 3 weeks, we're going to be working on that and premiering that.
Who's that
Um,
by?
that's by Paul Bluto, who
Okay.
is also another band director. He's down at Shadow Hills High School, but he's been writing for SESBOA for years. And he wrote a fanfare called Fanfare for Shelter in Place.
Nice.
Um, and so we're doing Cajun folk songs, and that's due on the 29th, and then 2 weeks later will be the fanfare for Shelter in Place.
Very cool.
Um, and then we're working on the last two pieces from a rights perspective. We're pretty confident that we've got at least one, if not both of them right now. but all of that's coming out. So I can imagine there's a lot of young band directors who really want to do this, and they've been reaching out. Absolutely, if we can help make that happen, uh, I'm here to support that. If you want to participate in this, but this seems really daunting, I don't blame you. And in fact, like I do want to take 1 second to say that there's a lot of band directors who've reached out to me who are like, should I be doing this? Should this be like a reality for me? And with a lot of apprehension behind their text message.
Right.
This is by no means a requirement of your job, and there's no way for it to become a requirement of your job. And if it does, then let's reevaluate what music education looks like. But
Right.
so if you feel like you need to do this, if you feel like you need to put like an hour-long concert together virtually, I would just like to communicate that it is absolutely not anything that you need to spend your life doing, because you literally you can spend hours and hours and hours and days and weeks like doing one piece of music
Yeah.
and not getting it out there.
Yeah. No, and that's a good point to make because going back to your own specific talents. I mean, this is in your bag of tricks as from your background going to Berkeley and doing the recording engineering stuff. You know, this is not a task for somebody that has never dived into any type of recording sessions or anything like that.
Yeah, from my perspective, I mean, I'm trying to make it through like my own efforts with SESBOA. I mean, we're publishing how to do this and stuff, but
Now, are you guys going to
yeah.
have that on the website, the how-to, or
Yeah, so it currently the first because I'm having to develop this in real time. The first part of it is already out to
okay?
our network,
And
which is SESBOA.
what's the
Yeah,
website there?
I'll send you a link
Okay,
directly to my document. And currently where it sits right now is to take you up to just creating your click track and your audio file that you would send out to everybody,
yeah,
and how to set up your cloud so that it's efficient on the back end of things. Um, and so there is hope if you're sitting at home and you're just like, man, I really want to do band. I learned so much about Percy Granger this week through doing this, just like a weird side effect.
yeah,
But I mean, if you've ever wanted to do like real interactive score study, this is an awesome way to go, because just as an example, like I went through and I took the saxophones out because I just felt like they were like really loud for a little part, and then all of a sudden like there's no Irish tune. Like the vast majority of the harmonic material in this piece just evidence to me in real time was this. And so I don't know, it's really cool, and it's a cool way to go if you're um if you're looking for a little bit of extended learning and stuff like that. And so um we're putting that out so that you're able to do that in GarageBand and in kind of like uh more user-friendly
okay,
applications that aren't necessarily like Pro Tools.
yeah. So that's good. So kind of uh, the entry level is, like the quartets, small groups, maybe using apps like Acapella or something like that. That
Yeah.
is, that's entry level to this type of stuff. The intermediate level, you're kind of addressing in with the SEBOA site, you're going to have that stuff out there. And then what you're doing is definitely advanced level type stuff where you're getting the whole community involved in the process and everything.
Yeah, and I'm pretty confident I'll find out here in the next couple days that you could do a really 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 convincing mix in GarageBand and if you've got Logic Pro. A lot of educators have Logic Pro. And to be honest, in the coronavirus world, it's not a bad idea if you have an extra $200 to put towards like an Apple Educator bundle of apps, because you can get Logic, you can get Final Cut, you can get Mainstage, which I use a marching band all the time. A lot of band directors use marching bands, so um, plus like a couple other things, Compressor 4 and maybe Aperture, but don't quote me on that. If you have that, like you're able to do fully like 80, 90, 100 person mixes
Okay.
in that. Um, but if you know, you just want to get your feet wet, you know, what comes on a typical Apple, you know, MacBook or whatever, should be like pretty sufficient to get started, at least up to maybe like 20, 30 people.
Okay. Very cool. Awesome. Well, Matt, I appreciate you coming down and kind of breaking it down for us and showing us what all is involved. I think for a lot of people, it's a daunting task to do something of this magnitude. But I know that there's a world of band directors out there that would really geek out on this kind of stuff, and I think it's eye-opening to them that they may realize that they have the tools and it's in their bag of tricks that they can actually put something like this together.
Absolutely. And band directors are so uniquely qualified to do this. Like when I was doing music production, you know, most people who do this are guitar players and drummers. And when you get to band instruments, you're like, what do we do? But we know this stuff, you know,
Yeah,
like we know frequencies because we spend our life at A440 and stuff like
right.
that. And so you know, if you feel like you're ready, absolutely go for it. Let's make this happen.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on and joining us with windconductor.org. It's been a blast.
Well, thank you. This is absolutely a blast for me.
Awesome.